All right. So, welcome back to Star Trek. Hope you all are having a good day here. I know you're live here. There are two other theaters where this is being simulcast. So, hello and welcome to all of you. This is the perfect time for a nap. Lunch has been good. You got comfy chairs, but I got plenty of failing demos to keep you entertained and hopefully interested. So, let's get started. We have 45 minutes, which isn't a whole lot of time, and I am talking about a lot more AI things without Wi-Fi, so this is going to be excellent. I do have some things running locally, but we'll see how the tethering from our phone is holding up. So let's get going. So let's talk about developer productivity. I think I called it packing light with VS Code, same idea. We are all talking about productivity. And what's latest and greatest? How can AI help if we wanted to, but it's all optional. But what are some new techniques coming up that help you have more context over what you're doing? So VS Code can be smarter in how it operates. All right, so I'm an old man. I'm Sam. I used to live in Columbus for a long, long time. I have lots of friends here, so it's always nice to come down. I think this is my 15th or so Star Trek. I've been doing this for a while, but always fun to come out. This is one of my favorite conferences. This is me online on most places. So Twitter or X, Blue Sky, GitHub, and all the places. That's mostly me. I work at Progress Software. I'm an advocacy manager, and we make a lot of tooling for developer productivity. So this is near and dear to my heart. So let's dive in. I'm guessing most of you in the room are developers or have interest in developer technologies. Okay, and we'll look at some .NET, a little bit of JavaScript here and there, but this is agnostic. This is tooling that should be good for any programming language. So let's look at broadly dev platforms. I'm just going to highlight two, but you could be doing Java or Kotlin or anything with cloud and microservices. But overall, the two primarily the most popular ones, if you're building web apps or mobile apps or desktop apps or cloud apps, it's either .NET or JavaScript, and VS Code is actually very, very good with most programming languages, in particular these two. So Microsoft slide, you may have seen this. It's not your old school .NET anymore. It's very open. It's very welcoming. Everything is open source. Great ecosystem, nice tools, so I can be productive on Windows, Mac, and Linux. So what's not to like? You can have broad platform reach, and tooling is great across everything. So good place to start. And if you're doing JavaScript, bring your framework of choice. If you're doing services or cloud, it's all the same. These are common programming languages, including all three F# developers who might be here. But it's all good. It doesn't matter. What we're talking about is pretty generic across multiple programming stacks. So if you are coming from the .NET background, this is where it's going to be relevant. But if you are coming in fresh to VS Code, then it doesn't apply. But this is slightly older, but you can kind of see the progression of where things started. Visual Studio is what most people who build stuff on Microsoft technologies, that's what we are used to using. It's been there forever. It's one of the best and richest IDEs that you can get, integrated development environments, but it is Windows only. Right? But it's a beast, so you might hear companies having a whole process to bring somebody on. It's like half a day gone just to install Visual Studio and SQL Server, get everything going, which is fine once you're in it and once you're productive, but slightly higher barrier to entry. You want things to be quick. You're a college kid, you have a little Chromebook or a MacBook, and you just want to write a Hello World app just like that. So we can do away with some of the drama. But once you're in it, once you're in Visual Studio, in Windows, and you're all up and running, it's fantastic. And some of the AI things we'll talk about today, it doesn't matter how you use it. We'll look at VS Code, but the same things work in Visual Studio as well. So this came along probably 10 years back now. I was at Microsoft Build where they first announced it. So it is a completely different story compared to Visual Studio. It's lightweight, and it's cross-platform by design. So it runs on Mac, Windows, and Linux. Can you take a wild guess, if you have an IDE like this, kind of a desktop app that runs in every platform, what do you think it's written in? It's got to be a cross-platform thing, right? So they had a few iterations. Right now, VS Code is written in TypeScript, HTML, CSS, and it's all bundled up inside of an Electron module, right? And that in there is, kudos to the work that they have done, because Electron, if you don't know what you're doing, it can get a little heavy-handed, memory footprint-wise, but VS Code, I have never seen it get, heavy-handed. So again, you get to choose the tools that you want. Extensions, this is where things really light up, because when you are developing specific things for C# or IoT or AI things, you want to be able to choose the things that you want and not have the whole kitchen sink in one place. So here you get to mix and match and just have exactly what you want and no more. Everything is open source, everything is very friendly, so what's not to like? Again, quick comparisons. The same things like AI-wise will work in both places, but they serve different needs. VS Code, as you will see, it's a web-based environment, so it works the same way across Windows, Mac, and Linux, as well as on your browsers. Any browser, it's the exact same thing. And so the cross-platform desktop story is really nice. If you are doing C#, then this is relevant. If you're not, then it's not. But if you are used to all the Roslyn compilation in Visual Studio, or if you are used to IntelliSense, you can have it all. It's all wrapped up nicely in one extension. You get this one package for all your C# dev needs, and you're good to go. Your code editing, code authoring experience is identical across multiple IDEs. So that's C# Dev Kit. And along the way, there are lots of other extensions, which we can get into some of it. I'm sure you have your favorites. I have mine. So we are rolling around just fine, developing apps in VS Code and other IDEs, and then comes AI, which is surprising how much we talk about AI, but this is nothing new. We've been doing AI for the last 50, 60 years. It's just the amount of computation we are throwing at it, and the things that it can do are different. So let's talk about a little bit about AI and how that changes things. So welcome to my TED Talk on history of AI. But just a quick look at how things started. We started with machine learning, and these things are not gone. We still do machine learning. We realized that if we feed a computer 99 pictures of what a cat is, the 100th time it's pretty good at guessing what it is going to be like, right? So that is core of machine learning, and we still do that, but it's manual. It takes work, right? Because you have to label everything, and you have to feed it manually to these models. So training is a little bit more involved. Then we started doing a lot more neural networks and deeper learning. This is where it's unsupervised. I'm not telling you what it is. Here are 100 docs. You go figure out the relationship between the docs, and then I'm going to ask you questions. And if you look at what we do in today's day and age with generative AI, it's the same techniques. Like they have the same techniques fundamentally, but the scale of it is very, very different. So now we are talking about insanely powerful AI models like OpenAI or the GPTs of the world and Geminis of the world. These are massive computational systems that are going out and learning things, and then they're responding. And they're very, very good at natural language processing. So they understand human language. They can carry a conversation. Context windows are a little bit fluid because tokenization comes into play. But otherwise, they're very good at what they do. It's generative, though, because it wants to generate things based on a prompt. You got some text. You got some images, some videos, music, whatever. It's very good at generative and creative things. And then slowly we are transitioning from generative AI to an agentic world, an agentic mode. So we'll get into why of that. But if we just look at generative AI right now, what does this have anything to do with dev stuff? Well, these models can also grok through a lot of code. Your code that's sitting locally, as well as any open source, GitHub, or any other repository where it can grok through, and it can see the same patterns. So when you ask it a question, it's very comfortable looking at, now again, I mentioned .NET and JavaScript because that's the majority of what you find in open source. So your mileage is going to vary a little bit if you use something like Python or C++ compared to C# because it has just that much more data to go off. But otherwise, all of those models are happy to bring all of their expertise to modern .NET development. You got Copilot if you're on Windows, but you got GitHub Copilot. This is specifically for code generation. That works everywhere else, right? So why not use some tooling to be more productive at what we do? And again, this is nuanced because not everything is being forced upon you. I'm going to show you things, but then I go talk to people who work in government agencies or military contractors, and they would say, I can't do any of this, and that's fine. You can maybe choose parts and pieces of it. There are enterprise modes where you can turn off how much GitHub learns from the outside. You can protect your IP never leaving your premises. So those guardrails are in place. So this is our world today. However, there are some problems. And that's where this other thing that's coming up, MCP is what it's called. The hope is it's going to fix some of the problems that we are seeing. So what are the problems? Fundamentally, and these are not problems. This is how generative AI is designed to be. Two things. One is the knowledge that generative AI has and how it works on it, it is time-stamped. What that means is, let's say Sunday, OpenAI decides to go out and grok and learn everything. And that's great. It's going to figure out those relationships. But Monday, you have a new product release, and you put out new docs and new APIs. It has no clue, and it has no way of knowing, right? Unless, I mean, nowadays we have RAG and other things, but this is where the AI is like the classic male ego. Like when I'm not going to look at maps. I know where I'm going. And even if I don't know something, I won't say it. I'm just going to hallucinate. I'm just going to make up stuff, as if I know that. But that's kind of the fundamental things. The way around it is we can ground our AI models to say, hold on, you might not know this. I would like you to go check out this resource, read the docs, and then come back with your response. That's a technique that's called RAG. So it's augmenting the response with some grounding. And you can do that all the time. There are certain scalability issues with RAG, but it works, but it needs a bit of hand-holding, essentially. The other big problem with generative AI is just the name itself is generative. It's not meant to do anything, right? When you say, what's 2 plus 2, it's not actually doing the computation. Even if it has like so much of GPU power, it's going to look up something that is similar to what you're asking and then say, with a high probability and a temperature, you're probably looking at an answer of 4. So you cannot just go to a ChatGPT and say, check in this piece of code, or look into my calendar, set up an appointment. Why don't you send an email? It has no context of any of that. And that context exists with siloed domain knowledge that Outlook has, that GitHub has, or other apps like Slack has. So these are all apps that can do things, but they're not exposed up to AI. So how can we fix this? That's where you are starting to see things called MCP servers. So essentially, the people who know that domain knowledge can expose their tools out to a common server, and we have figured out a way to have a common language. So the AI models and their agents can talk to each other. And now, so think about an agent as a supervisory role who sits on top of the AI model. It has all of the wealth of knowledge that the AI model has. It understands human language. But when you ask it specific things, it can go off and talk to other models. It can go off and tap into any of these tools that are exposed. And you, as the user, has a high level of confidence because these tools are being made by Slack and Figma and Outlook. So everybody who knows what they're doing has your authentication authorization figured out. They are the ones actually carrying out the tasks. So when you start with a prompt, the AI agent figures out a workflow to figure out how do I actually do what you're asking me to do? What resources do I need? What tools do I need? So that's the promised world that we are hoping to get to. We are not quite there yet, early days, but that's, in a nutshell, that's what the promise is. So again, we are hoping that we will be in a world where our AI models and our agents have deeply contextual information, and they have the tools to get things done. And you're going to see all of this surfaced up, not just through VS Code, but if you use Cursor or Claude, same ideas. It's the same techniques everywhere. With me so far? Everyone's awake? All right. Let's look at some stuff. OK, I got 15 minutes, so exactly half an hour left. Before I show you things in VS Code, I will talk about some generic things where you can see normal VS Code in action, normal GitHub Copilot in action. But then I'm going to show you certain things, hopefully if the internet connectivity works out. A couple of caveats. One is, again, Wi-Fi is not the strongest here, so your mileage is going to be different once you are at home. And two is, like, I work for Progress Software, and developer productivity is big on our minds. Like, we make tools like Telerik and Can Do UI and Fiddler and Sitefinity. So when I talk about some of this stuff, you are naturally going to assume that I'm trying to sell you that, which I am absolutely not. I do think you should not be writing a grid by hand, because it's a lot of work and engineering, but look around. Don't just go, from what I'm saying, look around, choose the best possible UI libraries, network debugging, testing, reporting, whatever your needs are, look around and make sure you build your own stack. Yeah? And through that end, I will also say that I'm going to show you things. Some of those things are released from a Microsoft and Anthropic and OpenAI standpoint. I might be showing you certain things where I'm not going to show you production code, but you can kind of guess where I'm going with this. And that's unreleased stuff. I know we are recording, but hopefully it will take them a couple of weeks to scrub everything and put it up on YouTube. So for folks who are here, I'm going to put you all under a friend DA. So nothing I show you goes up on the socials. Yes? OK, let's look at stuff. Any questions so far? Are we all good? Yep. OK, so let's look at VS Code. If you have never used VS Code, do a search, and you will likely end up on this place. So you can get VS Code for every platform that you are interested in. You can see what's in it. And again, the extensions are right there, so you can see Python, C++, GitHub Copilot, all the popular extensions. They're all right here. The docs are very nice. It's all open source. VS Code is open source, so if you don't like something, you can also contribute back. So let's open up VS Code here real quick. I'm on a Mac here, but again, you have the exact same experience on Windows. So this is a pretty lightweight thing by design because it doesn't have any of the extensions built in. So you can go get the tools that you want. If you sign in, your experience is that much better. You don't have to, but your settings and your beloved things all carry with you, or they travel with you. So once you sign in, it syncs your settings. So in here, like you will see that I have my settings and everything is it's in sync. Actually, while we are here, people talk about this all the time about, they get very passionate about what's their color theme. So you have a lot of choice, right? And there are thousands and thousands of, bless you, color themes and light mode and dark mode, whatever it is that you need. So whatever floats your boat, have at it. It can look exactly like the way it is that you want. I have seen, like on this side here is your main window. This is where your code shows up, your file folders in your workspaces. This is search. This is more source control stuff. This is debugging running. These are extensions, and then you can add on. I have seen people where the whole left-hand side is booked with all the stuff that they have, and that's great. But I don't do it that way because, again, it can be a lot. So another thing that we sometimes don't use all the time, a common thing is, actually, let me make this bigger. No, that's too big. So if I go in here, and if I look at this thing called profile. So I can change my profile, and you will see that it immediately turns everything else. Like I have cleaned up a whole bunch. So I had a Azure profile. I had a .NET MAUI profile. I had a React profile. So the profiles are essentially your mode of operation. So you can say, when I'm in my cloud dev profile, bring in all my Azure tools or AWS tools, right? So you can clean up and not have everything everywhere. So the default profile can be, pretty lightweight. This one is for cloud dev, so it has all the cloud connections of Azure functions and static apps and web apps, everything Azure is right there. So, and you can actually also use these little icons. So at any point, you can look at the corner of the screen, you know exactly what profile you're on. So like my mobile one will have the mobile icon and so on. So it's nice and easy to switch around. Dark mode and light mode, it's debatable which one you like to work well. That's up to you. I will say dark mode is better for your eyes, good for accessibility. Doesn't showcase very well when you're showing things off. So I always make it a point to switch to lighter mode where it's a little bit more easier to read. OK, so what else? If I go over here to VS Code, and let's look at setup here. If I head over to this one here, vscode.dev, this look familiar? This is exactly the same VS Code, right, that you have on desktop. And that's the power of it. So behind the scenes, there's a Monaco editor, and it's powered by a lot of IntelliSense and Roslyn and JavaScript things that you need. But all of it is exposed out to you purely in a browser. And then you take the same app, and you just wrap it up with the Electron, and then it runs on Windows, Mac, and macOS and Linux. Now, Since you have a web browser-based thing to edit stuff, the natural question is, can I just not do everything here? Absolutely, you can. But just understand that there are going to be some limitations if you're purely in a browser. This is meant for somewhat lightweight edits and quick pull requests and other little things that you're being asked to fix. Hopefully not your integrated environment for all-day coding, because when you're in a browser, you don't have access to some of the runtime things and other SDKs. So if I had a .NET MAUI or a Xcode app, I cannot just run it because I don't have the runtime. Web is a little bit different because you can bring in some of the WebAssembly runtimes. Like if you have a Blazor app or a React app, you can pull down the extensions and you can pull down the dependencies. If it is meant to run completely without a server client side, then yeah, you can build an app and just run it all in your browser. But again, hopefully it's not the only thing you're doing. Now, along the same veins, let's also look at how or where else does this show up. So I'm going to show you a quick little thing here. So these are my repositories. Let's just open up one of it. So let's just say you're looking at an open source repository like this, and in here you can do, you can pull it down, you can connect to it SSH or do CLI, you can pull it down as a zip file, or you can do what's called Codespaces. These names are randomly done, ominous waddle, fine. Let's go to that. So what it's doing is it's pulling up the repository in a VS Code web environment, right? So it's nice because then I don't have to be tethered to my main computer all the time. Let's just say I'm on the move and the team says there's this bug that you have to fix. I can just pull up a browser right there in my repo and I have full access to everything that my VS Code has. So again, this is my entire source code. Nicely kind of themed, it knows what files are, IntelliSense is okay. Terminal access, you have that, but again, understand that it doesn't have all the runtimes. It's not meant to have all the things. The other thing that VS Code is actually very good at is, has anybody used DevBox? That's a Microsoft thing. It's essentially a VM. So a lot of companies have realized that they have a big ceremony to bring new people on. You have to have all of these tools installed. Here are some coding standards for the team. Here are all the hooks and the database strings and all that. So you can bundle it all up. It's essentially a VM, right? And at that point, you just install VS Code in that VM, and you connect up to that DevBox from any internet-connected device, and then you can have your full dev environment right there. But again, it's a VM at that point. It's not in a browser. OK, so inside of VS Code, sure. I talked about signing in, and apparently it's saying I'm not signed in. So these are some of my extensions just in default mode. So I have the C# ones. I have GitHub Copilot. This one here I do recommend. It's called the Material Icon theme. This one is actually very good at identifying what type of files you have and really giving you a nice visual indicator like what those file types are. It look at all the icons. It knows everything from Dart and Java and JavaScript and C# and CSS. It knows what the file types are. It's a nice visual way of identifying what you're working with. Okay. Any questions so far? Are we good? So 224. OK, let's dive into some of the newer things that we are getting with VS Code these days. So let's go in here, and I'm going to pull up a simple little console app. OK. So all this one does is, it's a Hello World app, but it actually has like a little bit more than Hello World. It has an athlete class, and it has a list of athletes, nothing else in it. But I just wanted to show you what the AI-assisted experience is if you are letting VS Code bring in some of that. And this is powered by what's called GitHub Copilot. If you don't like it, you can use something else, but the experience is similar. So any of the other coding assistants are doing things that are very similar. So, and VS Code will work with any of the other assistants as well. So bring in the one that's your choice. I like GitHub Copilot, so I'm going to show you that. But again, understand that you can have some choice. So first thing is, if I do a Control-Shift-I, then it goes into this mode of, oh, and I closed it. Hold on. Let's bring it back. Let's clear it. So this is called Copilot Chat. So the idea here is most people will likely have their solution or a file explorer. This is where you're going to have your code. And then on a third screen, or possibly on one side of it, you're going to have chat. So think of it as a peer programmer, somebody who is just sitting next to you and can help you out, understand things about your own code, get some suggestions from outside code, kind of like a buddy who's sitting next to you. And this is where the transition is starting to happen. We are starting to see this Copilot transition from a pair programmer to a peer programmer. So think of it as maybe like a new grad who is sitting out there, and you're going to force it to say, go read the docs before you come back to me. But now, instead of just responding with some responses and code, it can actually do things for you, which is the agentic mode that we are trying to get to. But even if you don't like this all the time, you can close it out. And it's on by default unless you close it out. Like you can see this little GitHub thing here. It says, hey, I am good here. I'm running. Tell me how I can help, essentially. So this one here is a list of athletes, so I can just come down here, and just as I start typing in, and this is shadow code, so hands off, you can see that line came in. I can just tab to say, yes, I'm OK with it, hit enter again, and I can tab, enter. So it knows exactly what the context is. So that's where it starts to help out. OK, that's enough. You don't need to do any more. Now, in here, I can also do a command I, in which case it brings up the inline chat. So maybe I didn't want the whole thing. I just want some inline responses. So I have access to specific things here. So I could say, can you explain, like, why did you say what you said? And it's going to spin up and, yeah, sure, go for it. It's going to look through the code, and it's going to say, this is the reason why I suggested the code that I did. And it's a little slow over my connection here. We'll give it a second and see if it actually comes back. And while it's doing that, here's the other thing. Not every AI model is built the same. Right? So if you're looking for simple code suggestions, GPT 4.0, 4.1, and 0.1, those are great. Once we switch to more reasonable thinking, once we switch to agentic modes, I have my personal experience is the Claude Sonnet models are that much better for agentic tasks. But again, your experiences might be different. Yeah, it is not finding connectivity. But anyway, you get the answer and the point and how this is working. Now, it is also going to be as good as your code is in some ways. So just as I typed, like you can see, like it's coming up with, like, did you want to do this, like print athletes? No, I didn't want to do that. But what if I did, let's just say, public static filter athletes by name. See, now I can tab. So it kind of guessed that I was trying to filter athletes by sport, and I can just tab to say, yes, it's OK, and then, or no, it's not OK, I would like to iterate. So responses from GitHub Copilot or any other AI model, it's always an iteration. You might not like what it says, and this is where the creative niceties about it is. I mean, given the exact same parameters, the responses are going to be different, right? Because it's a probability engine. So if you don't like something, help it help you by saying, this is the reason why I didn't like it, and the next time it's going to be that much better. Also, like as you start coding, if your function name is this does something, it has no clue as to what that something is, right? So if your function names are a little bit more descriptive, it's a little bit more helpful. So in here, if I say function to display a list of athletes, no. Function to sort, no. I wanted like a filtering thing, filter athletes by sport. So just by me typing, a layer of comment means that it tries to, figure out what it's exactly I'm trying to do, comes back with a prompt. And this is called shadow text, so it's, trying to think ahead of you, and you can accept. And documentation, that ship has sailed. We should never be able to say, I didn't have time to write the docs anymore, because now you can just say @doc and fire this off. And it's going to just sit there and just do the whole documentation for you, right? Again, the more descriptive your variables and your methods and functions are, the better is going to be your docs, right? Make sense so far? Yeah, very basic, GitHub Copilot, and I can accept, I can reject, and so on. So you get the point. Now, I can also, actually, let me come out of that. I can also have this embedded in here next to me all the time. So in this mode, I'll show you one other trick. When you are starting out a new project, maybe you have a big team and you have some coding standards, and you want GitHub Copilot responses to be a little bit grounded and not just like wild, right? So what you could do is within VS Code. So if you go into the settings folder here, actually, let me close this out. I'll show you the settings in a second. But this is at a per folder, per workspace basis. So you can drop a .github, so it doesn't index everything. If you say ignore, it's not going to read those files. But the more context you give it, the better it is. So in here, I have an instruction file. So this one here is just me saying, this is how I would like you to behave. Here are my C# coding standards, my team standards. I would like this thing to be documented. I would like my APIs to be this way. So when it suggests code, instead of you having to manually tell that every single time, it's going to read that. It has read this file once, and it has it cached. So here I can just talk to it, and it's going to hopefully talk to me back like a pirate, right? Because that's what I said. Make sense? So use this to make it work towards your ends. And this is just a markdown file. You can add whatever you want into it. You can add some code into it. You could say, I want my sorting functions to be looking just like this. And so it learns as it goes. Yeah, makes sense? Now, all of this is right here in your instruction file, but what I was trying to show you is if you go look at settings. Now, these are global settings at a VS Code level, and it's a lot. So let's actually close this out for a second. It's getting busy. So if I just do this, so these are all the VS Code settings. It's just a JSON file that's sitting at your user directories. So your settings can be at a per folder or a per workspace basis, or they can be global. If you're comfortable doing certain things for all throughout your every use of VS Code, then put it in your settings, right? And that brings us to the next thing that we are going to look at, which is agentic mode. Now, as we speak now, this has been rolled out to everybody, but in case you didn't see it, there is a quick little setting here that says chat agent enabled, so make sure that is turned on. So what does that do? And again, like GitHub has, and VS Code has so many settings in here, so look around and choose the things that work the best for you. So let's look at this. We are here in 3 different modes right now. Let's actually open the file that we had, or the folder that we had. Let's look at this one again. And in this mode, I'm going to close that out. In this mode, I have a few extra things. First is, you will notice that I have what's called an ask mode. An ask mode is essentially a chat mode. It's like a chat participant, so I can ask questions. It's purely for asking. And it's going to suggest things right in the chat panel. You're not forced into using any of it. You can copy things over to your code, but it doesn't actually do anything. It's just meant for chat mode. Then you get into what's called an edit mode. And in edit mode, it can actually have the rights to change the files that are open. It's going to ask you every step of the way, are you OK with this code? I'm about to write this code. Are you OK? Doubly OK? And then you can give it more rights as you go along, as you become more confident, and you can start doing more edits. And then you get to what's called the agent mode. And in agent mode, you have kind of an autonomous system of it doing things. Like you are still, like the name suggests, it's Copilot, you are still the pilot, you're in charge. But if you let it, then in agent mode, it can make wide sweeping changes to your entire project. There is no limit. Everything is indexed, and it knows everything about your project, what you're about to do. Once it figures out your prompt, it is very, very good at making wide sweeping changes. And then you can keep the code changes or undo the full thing or any part of it, right? So that's agent mode. And in agent mode, I will use, again, personally will use some of the Claude models. But then, again, just in workspace mode, let's look at, in chat mode, let's also look at this. So you had those hash commands, right? You have that search, fix, explain. We can do that all day. Then you have these @ symbols. These @ things are essentially chat participants who know more about the specific thing that you're trying to ask. So if I go into workspace here, I can ask, what is this project for? right? And it's going to grok through all the files that are in that workspace and say, oh, this looks like a simple C# program that has some athletes and blah, 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 right? So it looks into the workspace. And you keep that workspace context in mind when you're doing things about where you want to be responded with things that relate to your code base in particular. Now, let's look at a little bit more of this. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to show you. Remember your friend is here, folks, OK? Let's show you a little bit more. I'm trying to show you what we have done with the hope that you can go back and do things for yourself if you want. So let's go ahead and run this. Where is this? OK, so I have a brand new instance of VS Code. I have way too many things running, so it complains about some activations, but we'll let that pass. OK, let's go into chat mode. I'm going to open this up, new screen. So remember I said I work for Progress, so we make things like Telerik or Candy UI. You might have your own database things. You might have your own API management things. So whatever you have that's proprietary, and if you want to bring that context to GitHub Copilot and let your fellow developers or users be more productive, this is the easy thing. So let's just do this. So if I do notice that I have some interesting new things that are not a part of it, right? So let's just do Telerik helper, right? And it says, hey, I'm a GitHub Copilot chat agent, not agentic mode, but it's chat that knows specific contexts. So if I come in here, and if I say, show me how to sort an array in C#. So we fired this off, and you see the response coming back. Classic sorting thing. It was fairly quick, but this is what's called a pass-through, because you came to a specific agent that knew something about Telerik or Candy UI, but you asked me a question, like if I am the agent, you asked me a question that I have no business. GitHub Copilot knows way more about generic things than I would ever do. I don't want to get in the way. So this is where I see your whole prompt, but I say, not me, pass it on to GitHub Copilot, and this is GPT-4o answering as if Copilot would. However, if I ask specific things like Yoda, now it says, oh, yeah, no, apparently it cannot work on that. Oh, I didn't invoke our agent. OK, hold on. There you go. Now we can say Yoda, and now it says, may the force be with you. So we are clearly intercepting the chat, and we are doing things on our own. So if I now actually go into this and say, show me code for, if I can type today, for Telerik Blazor grid with sorting and filtering, right? I fired this off. You can ask the same question to GitHub Copilot, right? And it's going to do a pretty good job. However, remember what I said about knowledge being timestamped and knowledge not having the context of all of our forums, all of our support tickets, all of our APIs, all of our docs, down to the last minute before we executed that prompt. That's where your domain knowledge comes in. This is obviously me hacking around, so it's not formatted right. But this is coming from us directly. And you can think of the same things for you. I got 6 minutes left. OK, so this is zero hallucination code. Because unlike GitHub Copilot, which is very, very good, I'm not saying it's, don't use that, but if you have access to these specified chat agents that know that much more, then GitHub Copilot is happy to say, no, go talk to that expert, because they will give you better code than I am, right? Make sense? So this is what's called a GitHub Copilot extension. And this whole thing is a marketplace, so you can think about making your own extension that's going to make your developers more productive. So how does this all work? It's super, super easy. This is actually a TypeScript project. In here, I have a command, so I can have a whack hello world, hello progress command here. These are my two helpers. So all these are essentially chat participants to say, I can help with this, and I can help with that. So here's the extension. I'm going to, let's see. Yeah, you don't see the whole thing. This actually has my key, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, so you don't see the whole thing. So we are going to trust VS Code. We are going to bring in OpenAI. And then once you start the chat, this is my custom chat extension, right? So we are saying, I am somebody who can do this. If you do Yoda, I'm going to respond with that. If you do anything else about generic C#, generic F#, or JavaScript that I have no business of knowing, then I pass it right down here. So let GPT-4o be the model. Let Copilot answer the way it is doing. However, if you do ask something that is my knowledge, then I can intercept and say, oh, yeah, I can do stuff. This look familiar? This is essentially like an instruction set. So I am grounding it to say, this is what I would like you to do. I would like you to be producing runnable code. And then here's my OpenAI key. And here's my custom model, and so on. And that's the response that you get. So this is an example of what is called RAG. So we are intercepting a chat because we think that we can do better than Copilot. Because if you cannot do better than Copilot, there's no point in doing this. It's all about the value add, right? So here we are thinking that we can actually do more, and we are you are explicitly coming and talking to me with an @ sign, and then you're getting the domain knowledge that I have. Make sense? There is a whole marketplace on this. So let's go in here. These are called GitHub Copilot extensions. So if you're talking to Perplexity or Docker or you name it, so they all have that contextual information that is more value add than Copilot. Make sense? Okay, now let's look at another thing here, which is what is called Model Context Protocol. Remember the thing that I was talking about? It's a common language, and what this allows you to do is expose tools, not just respond with comments or code, but actually do things, right? So let's look at that here for a second. I am going to, this is the running code. I have 3 minutes left. Okay, we can do this in 3 minutes. So let's look at this one here. So before I actually jump into the code here, let me show you what I'm trying to do. So again, I'm trying to show you things because they relate to me. I'm not trying to show you our UI. So if you look at any of the things that we do, here is a Blazor UI suite. If I go into demos, let's just look at a grid demo. You eventually get a demo like this. You can play around with it in StackBlitz, or there's a REPL for it. But behind the scenes, there is an API that brings some of this sample data back. So I want to have a telerik grid, and I want to have that sample data pulled in. So what if I wanted to expose this out to an AI agent? Well, it's super simple. This is actually a .NET Console app as well. This one here has a local JSON file, but you can also have it in the settings. Here's what I'm doing, bringing in a couple of things here. This is the Model Context Protocol, still in preview. But with that, I can add extra things. I'm saying, hey, add an MCP server as you get your .NET generic build host, get that going. So now here is a couple of tools. So first thing is the Echo tool. We are decorating it with a thing called MCP Server. We are saying this is a tool that I'm going to expose out to the agents, and this one just echoes back whatever you say. This is mine. This is where you have a telerik tool that says, get me a list of sample data. When you ask for this, I'm going to turn around and invoke a service so I can create this. And this is all C# code. So think about your API. Think about your database. Think about your docs. Whatever it is that you want that is contextual to you, you can surface it up. And it has auth in front of it, so it's protected. And it's going to serialize. So here's the service. All it does is it makes out this call to demos.blah, blah, blah, gets a list of products. And this is the product class, and it's got everything lined up, and I'm just going to serialize this whole thing, so it comes back to me as JSON, right? Pretty simple stuff. So now let's go into this, and let's clear this out. In here, I am in agent mode, right? And let's switch this to Claude, and now you see some tooling here. You see the 2 of 3. So these are the MCP servers that it sees, and these are the tools that it sees. So now I can invoke this from inside of GitHub Copilot. Right there it shows up. I can fire it up, and it's going to go do its thing. It's running it and working on it over my somewhat flaky connectivity. I know we are 2:45. Give me 1 more minute of your time, folks, and we'll be out of here. Oh, there it is. It ran it. So right there. So that's data coming back from my own API. So any C#, anything that you want to expose, you can put it out there. So what does this all mean, and why is this useful? Well, let's show you another thing. Now you're talking about agent mode using tools. So let's look at one other project here. I'm not going to run the whole thing because I just did it an hour back, so you can see what this looks like. I wanted to have zero touch, like I'm not writing a line of code, just do it all for me type experience. So this is me with the agent mode and my tools exposed. This is me going through it. I said, create a new Blazor project. It goes ahead and does that. And here's the secret sauce. It will do the things that it says, .NET new Blazor, and then creates an instruction file, runs the project, builds the project. I can say, go ahead and fetch this. Before you respond, make sure you check this web page for the latest installation things and keep your responses grounded. It says, oh, yeah, I got that. You need to add a new NuGet package and a source, and here's how your NuGet package works. Now let me go ahead and add things to my app razor file, my CSproj file, my CSS, like all the things that another junior developer will do by looking at the docs. I didn't write a single line of this. So I can get to this little demo of me starting up a Blazor project, throwing a grid in front, getting some sample data. All of this is done for me automatically. So you can see here, I'm saying, let's add a new Blazor page to show a grid. Make sure you get this sample data. So what it does is it creates everything for you. So here is my nav menu, and it added like a products link right there. Here is the products page, the product razor page. It added a model because it looked at the API and it said, this is kind of what you're looking at, and it added a grid. All of this without me writing a single line of code. Now, this may or may not be for you, but you can see the promise that agents, this is what agents can do, and with these tools, you can expose very contextual things to your agents, okay? I am completely over time, so I'm gonna stop here, but hopefully you can see that we have all the ammunition to go build amazing things. Let's go change the world, be more productive, and thank you so much for spending an hour of your day with me. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and evening, okay? Thank you so much.